Yeah, that BPS is an interesting metric to measure. There might be a big leap in the experience once you reach a certain level of BPS. Like
Yeah,
like entire new ways of interacting with the computer might be unlocked
and with humans,
with other humans.
provided they have one a Neuralink too.
Right.
Otherwise, they won't be able to absorb the signals fast enough.
Do you think they'll improve the quality of intellectual discourse?
Well, I think you could think of it. If you were to slow down communication, how do you feel about that? If you'd only talk at, let's say, 1/10 of normal speed, you'd be like, wow, that's agonizingly slow.
Yeah.
So now imagine you could communicate clearly at 10 or 100 or 1,000 times faster than normal.
Listen, I'm pretty sure nobody in their right mind listens to me at 1x. They listen at 2x. So I can only imagine what 10x would feel like, or I could actually understand it.
I usually default to 1.5x. You can do 2x, but actually, if I'm trying to if I'm listening to somebody go to in like sort of 15, 20 minute segments to go to sleep, then I'll do it 1.5x. If I'm paying attention, I'll do 2x.
Right.
But actually, if you start actually listen to podcasts or sort of audiobooks or anything if you get used to doing it at 1.5, then one sounds painfully slow.
I'm still holding on to one because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of myself becoming bored with the reality, with the real world where everyone's speaking in 1x.
Well, it depends on the person. You can speak very fast. Like we can communicate very quickly, and also if you use a wide range of if your vocabulary is larger, your effective bit rate is higher.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
The effective bit rate. I mean, that is the question: is how much information is actually compressed in the low bit transfer of language.
yeah. If there's a single word that is able to convey something that would normally require I don't know 10 simple words, then you've got a maybe a 10x compression on your hands. And that's really like with memes. Memes are like data compression. It conveys a whole. You're simultaneously hit with a wide range of symbols that you can interpret, and it's you kind of get it um, faster than if it were words or a simple picture.
And of course, you're referring to memes broadly like ideas.
Yeah, there's an entire idea structure that is like an idea template, and then you can add something to that idea template. Uh, but somebody has that pre-existing idea template in their head. So when you add that incremental bit of information, you're conveying much more than if you just said a few words. It's everything associated with that meme.
You think there'll be emergent leaps of capability as you scale the number of electrodes? Like
Yeah.
there'll be a certain. Do you think there'll be like actual number where it just the human experience will be altered?
Yes.
What do you think that number might be? Whether electrodes or BPS? We of course don't know for sure, but is this 10,000,
Well,
100,000?
yeah. I mean, certainly if you're anywhere at 10,000 bits per second, I mean that's vastly faster than any human can communicate right now. If you think of the what is the average bits per second of a human, it is less than 1 bit per second over the course of a day, because there are 86,400 seconds in a day, and you don't communicate 86,400 tokens in a day. Therefore, your bits per second is less than one, averaged over 24 hours. It's quite slow. And now, even if you're communicating very quickly, and you're uh, talking to somebody who understands what you're saying, because in order to communicate, you have to, at least to some degree, model the mind state of the person to whom you're speaking. Then take the concept you're trying to convey, compress that into a small number of syllables, speak them, and hope that the other person decompresses them into a conceptual structure that is as close to what you have in your mind as possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of signal loss there in that process.
Yeah, very lossy compression and decompression, and the a lot of what your neurons are doing is distilling the concepts down to a small number of symbols of say syllables that I'm speaking, or keystrokes, whatever the case may be. So uh, that's a lot of what your brain computation is doing. Now, there is an argument that that's actually a healthy thing to do or a helpful thing to do, because as you try to compress complex concepts, you're perhaps forced to distill what is most essential in those concepts, as opposed to just all the fluff. So in the process of compression, you distill things down to what matters the most, because you can only say a few things. So that is perhaps helpful. I think we'll probably get, if our data rate increases, it's highly probable that we'll become far more verbose. Just like your computer, when computers had my first computer had 8K of RAM, so you really thought about every byte. And, now you got computers with many gigabytes of RAM. So, if you want to do an iPhone app that just says hello world, it's probably, I don't know, several megabytes minimum, a bunch of fluff. But nonetheless, we still prefer to have the computer with the more memory and more compute. So the long-term aspiration of Neuralink is to improve the AI-human symbiosis by increasing the bandwidth of the communication. Because if in the most benign scenario of AI, you have to consider that the AI is simply going to get bored waiting for you to spit out a few words. I mean, if the AI can communicate at terabits per second and you're communicating at, bits per second, it's like talking to a tree.
Well, it is a very interesting question for a super intelligent species. What use are humans?
I think there is some argument for humans as a source of will. Will, yeah, source of will or purpose. So if you consider the human mind as being essentially there's the primitive limbic elements, which basically even like reptiles have, and there's the cortex, that's the thinking and planning part of the brain. Now, the cortex is much smarter than the limbic system, and yet is largely in service to the limbic system. It's trying to make the limbic system happy. I mean, the sheer amount of compute that's gone into people trying to get laid is insane. Without actually seeking procreation, they're just literally trying to do this sort of simple motion, and they get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
So this simple, which in the abstract rather absurd motion, which is sex, the cortex is putting a massive amount of compute into trying to figure out how to do that.
So like 90% of distributed compute of the human species is spent on trying to get laid, probably. Like
a massive
large
amount.
percentage.
Yeah. There's no purpose to most sex except hedonistic. It's just sort of a joy or whatever, dopamine release. Now, once in a while it's procreation, but for humans, modern humans, it's mostly recreational. And so your cortex, much smarter than your limbic system, is trying to make the limbic system happy because the limbic system wants to have sex. So, or wants some tasty food or whatever the case may be. And then that is then further augmented by the tertiary system, which is your phone, your laptop, iPad, whatever, or your computing stuff. That's your tertiary layer. So you're actually already a cyborg. You have this tertiary compute layer, which is in the form of your computer with all the applications, all your compute devices. And so in the getting laid front, there's actually a massive amount of digital compute also trying to get laid. With like Tinder and whatever,
Yeah. So the compute that we humans have built is also participating.
Yeah. I mean, there's like gigawatts of compute going into getting laid, of digital compute.
Yeah. What if AGI was...
This is happening as we speak.
If we merge with AI, it's just going to expand the compute that we humans use.
Pretty much.
To try to get laid.
It's one of the things, certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that yes, like is there a use for humans? Well, there's this fundamental question of what's the meaning of life? Why do anything at all? And so if our simple limbic system provides a source of will to do something, that then goes to our cortex, that then goes to our, tertiary compute layer, then, I don't know, it might actually be that the AI in a benign scenario is simply trying to make the human limbic system happy.
Yeah, it seems like the will is not just about the limbic system. There's a lot of interesting, complicated things in there. We also want power,
That's limbic too, I think.
but then we also want to, in a kind of cooperative way, alleviate the suffering in the world.
Not everybody does, but yeah, sure. Some people do.
As a group of humans, when we get together, we start to have this kind of collective intelligence that is more complex in its will than the underlying individual descendants of apes, right? So there's
Sure.
like other motivations, and that could be a really interesting source of an objective function for AGI.
Yeah. I mean, there are these sort of fairly cerebral or kind of higher level goals. I mean, for me, it's like, what's the meaning of life, or understanding the nature of the universe is of great interest to me, and hopefully to the AI. And that's the mission of XAI and Grok, is understand the universe.
So do you think people, when you have a Neuralink with 10,000, 100,000 channels, most of the use cases will be communication with AI systems?
Well, if it's assuming that they're not, I mean, there's solving basic neurological issues that people have. You know, if they've got damaged neurons in their spinal cord or neck, or as is the case with our first two patients, then this obviously the first order of business is solving fundamental neuron damage in the spinal cord, neck, or in the brain itself. So, our second product is called Blindsight, which is to enable people who are completely blind, lost both eyes, or optic nerve, or just can't see at all, to be able to see by directly triggering the neurons in the visual cortex. So we're just starting at the basics here. This is like the simple stuff, relatively speaking, is solving neuron damage.
Mm-hmm.
It can also solve, I think, probably schizophrenia. If people have seizures of some kind, it could probably solve that. It could help with memory. There's like a kind of a tech tree, if you will, of like, you got the basics. Like you need literacy before you can have, Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Do you have letters and alphabet? Okay, great. Words, then eventually you get sagas. So, I think there may be some, things to worry about in the future, but the first several years are really just solving basic neurological damage. Like for people who have essentially complete or near complete loss from the brain to the body, like Stephen Hawking would be an example, the Neuralink would be incredibly profound. Because, I mean, you can imagine if Stephen Hawking could communicate as fast as we're communicating, perhaps faster. And that's certainly possible. Probable, in fact. Likely, I'd say.
So there's a kind of dual track of medical and non-medical, meaning, so everything you've talked about could be applied to people who are non-disabled in the future.
The logical thing to do is, sensible thing to do is to start off solving basic neuron damage issues.
Yes.
Because there's obviously some risk with the new device. You can't get the risk down at zero. It's not possible. So you want to have the highest possible reward, given there's a certain irreducible risk. And if somebody's able to have a profound improvement in their communication, that's worth the risk.
As you get the risk down.
Yeah, as you get the risk down, and once the risk is down to if you have like thousands of people that have been using it for years, and the risk is minimal, then perhaps at that point you could consider saying, okay, let's aim for augmentation. Now I think we're actually going to aim for augmentation with people who have neuron damage. So we're not just aiming to give people a communication data rate equivalent to normal humans. We're aiming to give people who have, quadriplegic or maybe have complete loss of the connection to the brain and body, a communication data rate that exceeds normal humans.
Mhm.
I mean, while we're in there, why not? Let's give people superpowers.
And the same for vision. As you restore vision, there could be
Yeah.
aspects of that restoration that are superhuman.
Yeah, at first the vision restoration will be low res, because you have to say like how many neurons can you put in there and trigger, and you can do things where you adjust the electric field, so like even if you've got say 10,000 neurons, it's not just 10,000 pixels, because you can adjust the field between the neurons and do them in patterns in order to get, have say 10,000 electrodes effectively give you, I don't know, maybe like having a megapixel or a 10 megapixel situation. So, and then over time, I think you get to higher resolution than human eyes, and you could also see in different wavelengths. So like Geordie LaForge from Star Trek, like the thing. You could just, do you want to see in radar? No problem. You can see ultraviolet, infrared, eagle vision, whatever you want.
Do you think there will be, let me ask a Joe Rogan question. Do you think there'll be, I just recently taken ayahuasca. Do you think,
Is that a
so
Joe
this
Rogan
question, no. Well, yes.
Well, I guess technically it is.
Yeah. Have
Yeah,
you tried,
'cause there's
ever
DMT
tried
in there or
DMT, bro?
something?
I love you, Joe.
That's
Okay. So- but
Yeah, wait. Yeah, have you said much about it? The
I have
ayahuasca
not.
stuff?
I have not. I've been.
Okay,
I've been-
well, let me spill the beans.
it was a truly
Let
incredible.
me turn the tables on you.
Wow.
I mean, you're in the jungle.
Yeah, amongst the trees myself.
Yeah, it must have been crazy.
And the shaman, yeah, with the insects, with the animals all around you, like jungle as far as I can see.
I
There's
mean,
that's the way to do it.
things are going to look pretty wild.
Yeah, pretty wild. I took
mean-
an extremely high dose.
Just don't go hugging an anaconda or something,
Uh, you haven't lived unless you made love to an anaconda. I'm sorry, but
Snakes and ladders.
yeah, it was. I took extremely high dose of
Okay.
9 cups and
Damn. Okay, that sounds like a lot. Like, what's the normal? Is normal just 1 cup or
1 or 2. Usually 1. Yeah.
you went?
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
like right off the bat, or do you work your way up to it?
So I
you just jump in at the
across
deep end.
across 2 days, because the first day I took 2, and
Okay.
it was a ride, but it wasn't quite like a.
It wasn't like a revelation.
It wasn't into deep space type of ride. It was
Yeah.
just like a little airplane ride.
Okay.
I saw some trees and some visuals and all that. I just saw a dragon and all that kind of stuff. But
But at 9 cups, you went to Pluto, I think.
Pluto, yeah, no, deep space.
Deep space.
No, one of the interesting aspects of my experience is I thought I would have some demons, some stuff to work through.
That's what people.
That's what everyone says.
No one ever says. Yeah,
I had
exactly.
nothing. I had all positive. I had
Well,
just so
Just
full.
a pure soul.
I don't
Lex.
think so. I don't know. But I kept thinking about it. It had like extremely high resolution
Okay.
thoughts about the people I know in my life. You were there.
Okay.
It was just, and it's just not from my relationship with that person, but just as the person themselves, I had just this deep gratitude of who they are.
That's cool.
It was just like this exploration, like like Sims or whatever. You get to watch them.
Sure.
I got to watch people
Okay.
and just be in awe of how amazing they are.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I was waiting for
When's the demon coming?
Exactly. Maybe I'll have some negative thoughts. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I had just extreme gratitude for them, and then also a lot of space travel. You know,
Space travel to where?
so here's what it was. It was people, the human beings that I know. They had this kind of. Well, the best way to can describe it is they had a glow to them.
Okay.
And then I kept flying out from them to see Earth, to see our solar system, to see our galaxy. And I saw that light, that glow all across the universe.
Okay.
Like that whatever that form is,
All right.
whatever that, like
Like, did you go past the Milky Way?
yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
You're like intergalactic.
Yeah, intergalactic.
Okay, dang.
Yeah. But always pointing in.
Okay.
Yeah. Past the Milky Way, past I mean, I saw like a huge number of galaxies, intergalactic,
Oh, okay.
and all of it was glowing. So, but I couldn't control that travel because I would actually explore near distances to the solar system, see if there's aliens or any of that kind of
Sure.
stuff.
Did you
No,
see
I
aliens?
didn't. I didn't know. No,
Zero aliens?
implication of aliens because they were glowing. They were
Okay.
glowing in the same way that humans were glowing. That
Okay.
that like life force that I was seeing. The thing that made humans amazing was there throughout the universe. Like there was these
Okay.
glowing dots. So I don't know. It made me feel like there's life. No, not life, but something. Whatever makes humans amazing all throughout the universe.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it was amazing. No
Sounds
demons. No demons. I looked for the demons. There's no demons. There were dragons, and they're pretty awesome. So the
Okay.
thing about
Was
trees,
there anything scary at all?
dragons, but they weren't scary.
Yeah.
They were friend. They were
Sure.
protective. So the thing
Like
is,
Puff the Magic Dragon.
no, it was more like Game of Thrones kind of dragons. They weren't very friendly. They were very big. So the thing
Okay.
is about giant trees at night, which is where I was.
I mean, the jungle's kind of
Scary.
Yeah.
The trees started to look like dragons, and they were all like looking at me.
Sure. Okay.
And it didn't seem scary. They seemed like they were protecting me. And they, the shaman and the people didn't speak any English, by the way, which made it even scarier.
Okay.
Because we're not even like, we're worlds apart in many ways. It just, but yeah, there was not. They talk about the mother of the forest protecting you, and that's what I felt like.
And you're way out in the jungle.
Way out.
Yeah.
This is not like a tourist retreat.
Like 10 miles outside of Rio or something.
No, we went. No, this is not a.
You're
This
in
is not a
deep
standard.
Amazon.
So me and this guy named Paul Rosalie,
Yeah.
who basically is Tarzan. He lives in the jungle. We went out deep and we just went crazy.
Wow,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So anyway, can I get that same experience in a Neuralink?
Probably, yeah.
I guess that is the question for non-disabled people. Do you think that there's a lot in our perception, in our experience of the world that could be explored, that could be played with using Neuralink?
Yeah, I mean, Neuralink it's really a generalized input-output device. It's reading electrical signals and generating electrical signals. And I mean, everything that you've ever experienced in your whole life, smell, emotions, all of those are electrical signals. So it's kind of weird to think that your entire life experience is distilled down to electrical signals from neurons, but that is in fact the case. If that's at least what all the evidence points to. So, I mean, if you trigger the right neuron, you could trigger a particular scent. You could certainly make things glow. I mean, do pretty much anything. I mean, really, you can think of the brain as a biological computer. So if there are certain, say, chips or elements of that biological computer that are broken, let's say your ability to, if you've got a stroke, if you've had a stroke, that means you've got some part of your brain is damaged. Let's say it's a speech generation or the ability to move your left hand, that's the kind of thing that a Neuralink could solve. If you've got like a massive amount of memory loss that's just gone, well, we can't get the memories back. We could restore your ability to make memories, but we can't, restore memories that are fully gone. Now I should say, if part of the memory is there, and the means of accessing the memory is the part that's broken, then we could re-enable the ability to access the memory. So, but you can think of it like RAM in in a computer. If the RAM is destroyed or your SD card is destroyed, we can't get that back. But if the connection to the SD card is destroyed, we can fix that. If it is fixable physically, then it can be fixed.
Of course, with AI, you can just like you can repair photographs and fill in missing parts of photographs. Maybe you can do the same. Just like
you could say like create the most probable set of memories based on all information you have about that person. You could then there would be probabilistic restoration of memory. Now we're getting pretty esoteric here,
but that is one of the most beautiful aspects of the human experience, is remembering the good memories. Like we live most of our life, as Danny Kahneman has talked about, in our memories, not in the actual moment. We're collecting memories and we kind of relive them in our head. And that's the good times. If you just integrate over our entire life, it's remembering the good times
Sure.
that produces the largest amount of happiness. And so,
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are we but our memories? And what is death but the loss of memory, loss of information? If you could say like, well, if you could be, you run a thought experiment. What if you were disintegrated painlessly and then reintegrated a moment later, like teleportation, I guess, provided there's no information loss. The fact that your one body was disintegrated is irrelevant.
and memories is just such a huge part of that.
Death is fundamentally the loss of information, the loss of memory.
So if we can store them as accurately as possible, we basically achieve a kind of immortality.
Yeah.
You've talked about the threats, the safety concerns of AI. Let's look at long-term visions. Do you think Neuralink is, in your view, the best current approach we have for AI safety?
It's an idea that may help with AI safety. Certainly not. I wouldn't want to claim it's like some panacea or something. That's a sure thing. But I mean, many years ago, I was thinking like, well, what would inhibit alignment of collective human will with artificial intelligence? And the low data rate of humans, especially our slow output rate, would necessarily just because because the communication is so slow, would diminish the link between humans and computers. Like the more you are a tree, the less you know what the tree is. Like, let's say you look at a tree, you look at this plant or whatever, and like, hey, I'd really like to make that plant happy, but it's not saying a lot, you know?
Mm-hmm. So the more we increase the data rate that humans can intake and output, then that means the better, the higher the chance we have in a world full of AGIs.
Yeah. We could better align collective human will with AI if the output rate especially was dramatically increased. And I think there's potential to increase the output rate by, I don't know, 3, maybe 6, maybe more orders of magnitude. So it's better than the current situation.
And that output rate would be by increasing the number of electrodes, number of channels, and also maybe implanting multiple neural links.
Yeah.
Do you think there will be a world in the next couple of decades where it's hundreds of millions of people have neural links?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think when they see the capabilities, the superhuman capabilities that are possible, and then the safety is demonstrated?
Yeah, if it's extremely safe, and you have and you can have superhuman abilities, and let's say you can upload your memories, so you wouldn't lose memories, then I think probably a lot of people would choose to have it. It would supersede the cell phone, for example. I mean, it's the biggest problem that a phone has is trying to figure out what you want. So that's why you've got autocomplete, and you've got output, which is all the pixels on the screen. But from the perspective of the human, the output is so friggin' slow. Desktop or phone is desperately just trying to understand what you want. And there's an eternity between every keystroke from a computer standpoint.
Yeah.
So
the computer's talking to a tree, a slow-moving tree that's trying to swipe.
Yeah. So, if you had computers that are doing trillions of instructions per second, and a whole second went by, I mean, that's a trillion things it could have done,
Yeah. I think it's exciting and scary for people because once you have a very high bit rate, that changes the human experience in a way that's very hard to imagine.
Yeah. We would be something different. I mean, some sort of futuristic cyborg. We're obviously talking about, by the way, like it's not like around the corner. You asked me what the distant future is. Like maybe this is like, it's not super far away, but 10, 15 years, that kind of thing.
When can I get one? 10 years?
Probably less than 10 years. Depends what you want to do, you know.
Hey, if I can get like 1,000 BPS
1,000 BPS.
and it's safe and I can just interact with the computer while laying back and eating Cheetos, I don't eat Cheetos. There's certain aspects of human computer interaction when done more efficiently and more enjoyably are like worth it.
Well, we feel pretty confident that I think maybe within the next year or two that someone with a Neuralink implant will be able to outperform a pro gamer
Nice.
because the reaction time would be faster.